My name's Will DeFries, and this is the Sunday Scaries podcast, your cure for the Sunday blues. When I was in 5th grade, we had to stand in front of our class and do a speech about what we wanted to be when we grew up, simply called the When I Grow Up speech. Being naive and in 5th grade, I told the class that I wanted to be an Imagineer, someone who works for Disney designing rides, illustrating movies, and pretty much doing anything creative. Unfortunately, I severely underestimated the amount of engineering knowledge that goes into being an Imagineer. At the heart of it, I simply wanted to be an illustrator or cartoonist. I'd spend countless hours at home drawing at my desk in my room, doodling in a sketchbook, or recreating my favorite Calvin and Hobbes comic strips. And as I grew older, I found myself paging endlessly through my dad's book compilations of cartoons from The New Yorker. Obviously, my ambitions to become a full-time cartoonist didn't pan out like in 5th grade. But today, I'm going to talk to someone who does, in fact, cartoon for a living. In addition to cartooning for The New Yorker, today's guest has a new book coming out in November titled Murder Book. Ladies and gentlemen, Hilary Fitzgerald Campbell. Hilary, welcome to the Sunday Scaries podcast. You and I have been emailing back and forth for what feels like months now, and I've been following you on Instagram for what feels like even longer now. But it's so good to have you here.
Thank you so much. I am both thrilled and honored to be here.
I knew that we would be friendly once I saw the third page of your book where you showed your love for cartoons, White Wand on Ice, and Frasier, which we'll get to later today. But from there, I really dove in harder than I expected to. Please tell me all about Murder Book.
Murder Book, where does one begin? So as any woman in America these days, I am obsessed with murder, have been for quite some time. And several years ago when I was I'd finished up another book and was like, what the hell am I going to do now? I had a call with my agent and was kicking around some ideas. And I'm like, well, my mom and I are just on the phone constantly talking about murder and death. And she's like, that sounds interesting. And so it began. So Murder Book, years later, coming out into the world, and it's part memoir, part trying to figure out why the hell am I obsessed with this shit. But then it's also, it's looking at the history of true crime as a genre. It's looking at the pop culture. It's also a love letter to true crime junkies like myself. So it's a whole hodgepodge of things, really.
Why do you think that true crime is such a female-driven category? I know you kind of answer this in the book, but for those listening, why do you think that it's so female-driven versus, men being into it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, we have, there's a lot of theories one can make on this. So I think that it's largely because, more often than not, even though it's not true that women are killed more than men, men die at the hand of violence more, but what we see in the media and TV, movies, books, podcasts, women are the victims. And so I think that naturally women in the world, then, they identify with the victim. There's sympathy, empathy, and fear that it could be you next. And so that's, one of the larger reasons that I go through in the book, but it's funny that it's so gendered. And I don't understand why men don't want to read it as much. Not to say that there's no men, that want to read it, but I don't get it. I feel like my dad will come in the room. My mom and I are watching, some horrible, Green River Killer show. And my dad's like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, well, why don't you want to? I don't get it,
It's weird. My entire life, I've always kind of avoided suspenseful, scary things. It's not because I actually get scared, but whenever I think about spending my free time doing something, I picture myself relaxing, putting on something that makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Why do you think you love murder so much? What is it that what need is fulfilled when you're sitting in front of the television watching a murder mystery or a true crime documentary or listening to a true crime podcast?
It's finding out that other people's lives are worse than mine. You go, oh, well, thank God. That's awful, but it's, probably partly true. I mean, I was just watching, I was home 2 weeks ago, and on Turner Classic Movies, there was this short film in between two movies, and I cannot even remember the name of it, but it was like, how to relax. How do you get your husband to relax? And it was like this weird infomercial of this like frustrated man, husband, like bouncing around the house, can't relax. And then the narrator's like, but the wife knows how to relax. And it cuts to this wife in bed reading a book called Wife Killer. And she's like smiling. And, this is like from the 50s.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ain't nothing changed, honey. But what, I mean, why do I do find it disturbingly relaxing, but also, I mean, there's it's a game from your mind. It's like figuring out a puzzle, So I think it's people that love true crime, they want to get to the bottom of things. They need to have all the pieces of the story, and and it's also based in, for me and for most, people that love true crime, it's based in anxiety. It's like, I think it's just like this crazy vicious cycle where you're worried. So then you're going to find out why you should be worried about other people's, and it just goes and over and over and over, and they kind of like feeds into each other.
I'm a naturally anxious person, and based on when I first followed you on Instagram, I don't know where I saw one of your cartoons, but I thought to myself, like, this is exactly the sense of humor that I like feed into. That anxiety with a little darkness to it. Would you say that you have a dark sense of humor?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. Absolutely. I catch myself saying things in front of children that people look, they go, why would you say that in front of a child? I'm like, well, shouldn't we be honest?
I relate very much with that because my wife is a medical professional who deals with a lot of somewhat gory situations, as I would put it. And sometimes she'll be talking at a group dinner or something, and I'm like, oh no, that's a story for other medical people, not a story for like normal people who don't deal with blood on their everyday schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that has anything to do. I didn't even put this in the book. I mean, because my dad's a doctor, my mom's a nurse, my sister's a nurse. Like, so and my both my grandparents are doctors. I wonder if that played anything into it, that I definitely grew up like with, dinner table conversation, just extremely medical, like just blatantly talking about parts of the body.
It probably normalized it for you at least a little bit.
Yeah. I think that, maybe I'll have to add an addendum to the book.
Well,
New
so
thoughts.
with the book, there is, I don't even know how to describe it. There is so much that had to have gone into this book, whether it was from you creating storyboards, whether it was you just coming up with the premise. What were the highs and lows of actually creating this book? I was shocked when I was paging through it at the vast array of different drawings, creative takes on things. What did the highs and lows look like as you were going through the process of doing it?
Oh, I had so many anxiety attacks. I mean, the hardest part is, I mean, with any project this big, really is just starting it, because you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I have a year to finish. And then it's like, that's too much time to even think about, and you're like, and what do I want to do? Total, really anxiety inducing of like, just like feeling like you're approaching a forest and you don't know how you're going to get out of it. And I'd say, God, the hard parts were like, it was once I knew what I was going to do, it was okay. Then I could like just draw it and like I could have Law and Order on and it's like, it's fine. I'm just drawing it right now. But the days when I would, spend outlining and like worrying over something makes sense or like trying to find a thought I had maybe 3 years ago that I think was funny, that was kind of true crime related. Like, so I would have to just like scour. I keep all my notebooks and sketchbooks like obsessively because like, God forbid, I forget any thought I've ever had. So I think the outlining is really hard, and so what I did was, just to begin to approach the book is like, I got a box and I was this like wooden box.
The murder box.
Yes, the murder box. It was actually a wine, like a Cabernet, like a very fancy wine box. And I just put like any thought, it's just scraps of paper for a while. It just was trying to collect everything. And then, was trying to separate things into like, these ideas maybe go together and these ideas go together, that this is over here. And then, I mean, I had points where my office was so insane, like just like note cards, like passing through, like, it's like you're like looking at the timeline of my own life. And somehow it all came together. God, I don't even know. Now it feels like it was all a fever dream. I'm like,
Yeah.
what happened? I don't know.
I imagine that there was probably a large sigh of relief when you didn't have to make any more edits, because I imagine that making an edit in a graphic memoir like this is much different than making an edit if you're just a writer. I got my kind of start in the creative world simply writing, and if somebody sends you an edit, it's like, oh, perfect, I can just delete that sentence and move on. For you, you would have to somewhat rework an entire page or an entire, portion of the book. Is that difficult to endure when you're already feeling just absolutely zapped from the process?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, yeah, I should have just said that up top when you asked me what's the worst part. It's absolutely editing. It's like I think that, this is my first time doing a book this big, and I'm sure my process will get like more fine tuned over time. And I know that other more, writers and artists that have done many books would be laughing at me for the way I like decided to go about things. But like once you've already drawn something and then someone says there's maybe something wrong with it, like you're going to start crying. You're like, no,
Yeah.
there couldn't be anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
Because I draw on paper. I do some work digitally, but the whole book was on paper. So having to go in to edit pages, and if you have to redraw something, which is like, it's just a part of the game, but it can be very painstaking. And then also, like, I'm actually horrible at grammar, like secret about me. Not good with grammar. So when the copy editor came in at the end, like after, like my editor had done her own like copy edit through everything, and then they had another copy editor come on and like tell me that I missed like maybe literally like 1,000 commas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I had to go back in, and that of course I did digitally. Like I was like, a comma is easy to do on Procreate, but that just took forever, and it's my own fault.
I mean, everyone lies somewhere between being absolutely terrible at grammar and then being like an absolute grammar snob. So I don't think there's any shame there.
I do hate grammar snobs. I'm not gonna lie. The people that come on my Instagram and are like, this sketch you had in your notebook is actually not grammatically correct. I'm like, you can go jump off a cliff.
Yeah, it's like, this is a cartoon. What issue do you have with it right now?
God, there's part of there's some rage I have towards those people.
I would imagine that doing something for the New Yorker is much different than doing an entire book. Do you ever encounter, like, I put down writer's block, but I don't think that's the appropriate term for it. Is there a cartoonist term for writer's block?
Oh my God, of course. It's like every weekend. No, a bunch of the cartoonists, here, or the New Yorker cartoonists here, we're all friends, and so whenever one of us is in a rut, and you can be in a rut for like a month too, or longer. Yeah. You can be in awful ruts where you're like, I just don't have ideas. Like I have ideas for other things, but I don't have ideas for New Yorker cartoons. And I would say I'm kind of in one of those right. I'm like, I got nothing right now. And when that happens, I think my friend Ellis Rosen always says the best thing is like, you can't have output without input. And it's like, if you don't have any ideas right now, that means you just need to like go do a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Like you need to get out of the house, see your friends, go drive somewhere, just do anything so that you're like, you get things moving, and then you're reminded about something in life that bothers you. You're like once you leave, you'll find something that bothers you that'll ultimately become a cartoon later. But absolutely major ruts when it comes to gag cartooning, or, you're like, I want to draw this longer story. What is it that I want to pitch here? What is it that I want to pitch there? And, I do feel like, being an author, writer, artist, whatever it is, like you're constantly having to like mine your own personal trauma for like content. And you're like, you obviously hit a wall sometimes.
Well, before we get to some more questions, let's hear from one of this week's sponsors, and then I'm going to start picking your brain about how you even got to the point where you got right now. So let's hear from our sponsor this week, Ettitude. The dirty not-so-secret about the bedding aisle is that while cotton might be the most popular fabric for sheets, duvets, and pillowcases, it's also the most damaging to our planet. Even organic cotton takes its toll, and that's why I'm so thrilled to introduce you to Ettitude. Made from naturally organic bamboo, Ettitude's sheets are made without toxic chemicals and use 500 times less water than cotton. Plus, they're silky soft, so they're comfortable for you and the environment. I'm a very hot sleeper, so when I got these sheets in, I could not wait to put them on my bed, and sure enough, I slept so well that night and every single night since. I get excited every time I get to put the sheets back on the bed, and they are so soft, they're helping me sleep better, and I feel better because I'm reducing my environmental impact. Unlike cotton, which consumes massive amounts of water, energy, and chemicals during production, Ettitude uses naturally organic bamboo, the most resource-efficient plant on the planet. Ettitude's sheets wick away moisture and regulate your temperature to keep you cool and comfortable throughout the night, and you can try any Ettitude bedding for 30 nights, and if you're not completely satisfied, just return it for a full refund. Right now, you can get 20% off your order plus free shipping when you visit ettitude.com/scaries and enter promo code SCARIES. Remember, that's Ettitude as in eco attitude. Order today for free shipping and 20% off your order at ettitude.com/scaries, promo code SCARIES. Okay, Hilary, when did you know that you wanted to become an artist, cartoonist, creative person? Like, was it always just in your DNA? Was it something that you always strived for, or did you just kind of fall into it?
I was 4. No, I remember waking up 3 years old thinking, Mom, this is it. No, oh God. I started drawing cartoons when I was a kid. But I didn't think I was going to become a cartoonist until fairly recently in my life.
Yeah.
I was always drawing. I actually was way more obsessed with drawing realistically when I was young. I was major pencil, and everything was photorealism, and I would constantly draw movie stars, and just my whole thing. And been that, and it was that, and then movies themselves. My mom just sort of raised me watching Turner Classic Movies. I was just an immediate movie junkie, could quote anything, and people thought I was weird at school because anything that came up, I'd be like, "That's that movie," and everyone's like, "We're in real life, Hilary," and I'm like, "Are we? I'm not sure." But so, and I guess it just, when it came time to be I guess we have to go to college now, I went to film school because I didn't really know what else to do, really. I was like, well, I'm not going to do any of these other things.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not going to be a doctor. And my mom and my dad were always extremely encouraging of my art, and I'm very grateful for that. I don't think, I would have gone all the directions that I've gone in since then if it wasn't for their support. So I went to film school, and I always kind of drew on the side, but was that at that point, I went to UC Santa Barbara and was very, very just into screenwriting and, telling stories. And actually, I worked in documentary for a while, and I had several films on the film circuit that I won some awards, if you can believe it or not.
I saw that. I actually was in the office yesterday watching Small Talk on my laptop, and I was very much enjoying it. And I saw that you actually won an award for it at the Traverse City Film Festival, which is very close to my hometown. So I was very into it.
Oh, really? Oh, God, that's Michael Moore's. That was so fun. That was a great festival.
I've heard that it's a great time, but I've never actually gone to it.
It's, when film festivals can return happily again. I think they're kind of back now, but probably not, the wild, wild west that they once were. But I love that time. But so I did that, and then I worked in film festivals, and then I just kind of had a classic manic meltdown. I was like, oh my God, I'm not on the right side of the table. I'm just I'm kind of managing artists, and I was working at Slam Dance. And it was a great experience, but I just sort of realized I was I want to be the artist. I don't want to be running this thing anymore.
Yeah.
And I was living in Los Angeles, and I basically quit my job and packed my bags and moved to New York, and was I think I'm going to be a cartoonist. Just very little thought went into that,
Well, have you enjoyed being I know, I can agree with you that when you start to manage people and not do as much of the creative work, it starts to bog you down a lot. Do you enjoy being a full-time creative? I know that there's a lot of stressful things to it. There's a lot of uncertainty, and you kind of pave your own path. Has that been something that you've struggled with or embraced?
it's a 24/7 struggle, right? Of like, once you start doing the thing you love for work, and like you'll still love it, but like it becomes pretty stressful.
It's different. It's a different feeling once you actually get paid to do it and you're obligated to do it versus when you were doing it out of pure passion after your full-time job. It just feels different for some reason.
It is, because now I got the fucking pressure to make money, baby. So, I mean, it was a slow uptake, obviously. This, like, to where I am now. I moved here and to New York, and it's just, I was nannying and a waitress, and just sort of drawing in bars at night, and just started an Instagram and was like, here I go,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just doing that as much as I could. And the first gig that really helped me out and like kind of, set my wheels a rolling was I illustrated Feminist Fight Club by Jessica Bennett. And that book definitely just like put me out there as like, I can now get hired as a, illustrator and cartoonist. And then I started submitting to the New Yorker, and it took me a year.
Yeah.
Of like submitting every week and, naturally getting better once you just start drawing at that level. It's just like this, they say to write, if you write every day, you're going to get better. If you draw every day, you're going to get more fine-tuned in your work. And so I think it must have been like late 2016 or early 2017 that I finally, I sold my first thing at the New Yorker. But that does not, that's not like fill in your bank account right away. So it's like, it's a big hustle. And there was a period after basically Feminist Fight Club where I'd like gotten enough money where I was like, okay, I can break free. I can like break free from like my waitress gig, but now I better keep making, so it's like, then you begin the grind of self-promoting and trying to get any job you can get at all.
Do you like self-promoting?
Oh, well, no, nobody. Oh my God, like kill me. I was
just looking for validation there as somebody who does not love doing it, but understands the absolute need to do it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, now I've moved over to Substack, and I'm very happy with it. But now I'm like desperately trying to like continue to grow that and like having to ask people all the time to sign up for my newsletter. Yep. And I'm like, I hate having to say it, but please do it,
Was it validating to see your work in the New Yorker for the first time? I feel like it's such a highly regarded publication. I mean, I as a kid, my dad not only got the New Yorker, but he also had the compilation books of all the cartoons, and I would page through them, and I wouldn't understand any of the humor or the jokes or the lines. I wouldn't understand anything, but I was so entranced by the style of it that I just couldn't take my eyes off of it.
I still don't get the jokes. Kidding. No, it's a huge honor. Are you kidding me? I still can't believe it. And I'm like, oh, wow, there it is. Like, holy shit. It's really, quite frankly, it's cool. You know, it is cool. And on top of it, it's just like the most special group of people that I've ever met. Like, being friends with cartoonists is actually, I'm like, I don't know if there's a kinder, funnier group of people, because there's, on the other side of things, if you're doing comedy, doing stand-up comedy, everybody's not so nice,
Yeah,
there's
that might be a little harsher.
But the world of cartoonists are like, everyone's just cool and nice and funny, and I'm just very grateful and like honored to like just be in that group.
I wish you wouldn't have told me that, because my lifelong dream, my entire childhood, was to be a cartoonist, and I just never made it happen, and it's killed me ever since.
Oh no!
Something else in the same breath of not understanding New Yorker cartoons as a child is the television show Frasier, which we've already mentioned. So I watched Frasier as a kid with my parents, and I thought they were British the entire time until my parents explained that they're not British, they're rich. And I didn't understand any of the jokes until I started watching it on Lifetime. They would play 2 episodes a night for a long period of time, and I would record every single episode. And somehow, as like a guy in my mid-20s, I just fell in love with this show. What are your favorite Frasier episodes, and why do you think Frasier has made such a comeback as of late?
I think Frasier is the most soothing sitcom that's ever been made. I mean, my friend Kelsey and I just talk about this endlessly. Like, I honestly think that like the color scheme is really welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's oranges and reds and browns, and then we all know about Frasier Bane now. But it's so lovely. And I mean, I think everybody, right? Everyone's just like constantly wishing they were living back in the 90s. So it's like, it's just the idea of this like beautiful, safe space where everything sort of just makes sense in this home, you know? And God damn it, if those jokes aren't so witty and so, I mean, they're assholes, but I don't care.
Exactly.
You know?
Well,
Like,
that's a
like,
lot of my favorite shows are people being assholes, but they don't care. Like, I mean, Succession is one of those shows where you should hate every single character on the show, but it's like, that's kind of why you start to gravitate towards them because they're so hateable. You pointed out some of your favorite episodes when we were emailing back and forth, and one of them that stuck out to me was the one where they're having, I forget why they're having a dinner party at a house on the coast, but there's like a seal.
It's Maris's. Okay, so it's Niles. It's like so embarrassed that he lives at that it's like post divorce, and he like has to move into whatever that place is where it's like this shitty apartment building that he's horrified can't be seen in.
Yes.
And then he has to like have a dinner party. I don't remember if it's for like that wine group they're in, like the Corkage, whatever they are.
It might be
people. Yeah, so they're like, and he's like, I can't have it here, and then he can't have it at Frasier's for whatever reason, and so he's like gonna break into Maris's beach house to host this dinner party while she's out of town, and then everyone starts arriving, and there's like this dead seal or something on the beach right in front of the house, and it smells so bad, and it's just the greatest comedy of errors after that, where it like gets to the point, as you well know, that everyone thinks that he's actually murdered Maris.
I think that makes sense that you would like that episode so much compared to some other ones.
The murder.
I think my favorite episode of all time is Road to Perdition, where they're getting black market caviar from some sketchy Russian boat, and it's like,
oh my God,
they're drug dealers, and for some reason it's my favorite episode, and every time I've shown it to somebody, they've been a little suspect that it's actually going to be good, and by the end of it, they're cracking up as they're just shoveling caviar into their mouths.
Yes. No, oh God. Every episode is an actual gem. I mean, I think people like to say, that there's some seasons that aren't as good as others, and I say, shut up.
Yeah.
They're all great. I mean, the lowest point is when they say that Daphne's fat. Like, that's the low point when they're calling her fat. And you're like, let's never speak of this ever again. It's really not okay. But otherwise, I love it all. I fall asleep to it every night, and I can't even imagine like a world in which that wasn't like just a part of my existence.
I know. My wife and I, she was not she didn't really care for Frasier at all before she met me, and then by a year into our relationship, it was every night. All right, what episodes of Frasier are we putting on right now? I could talk to you about Frasier for a very long time, but I don't think that's our best way to use our time today. Before we get to some Sunday questions, let's hear from our next sponsor, if you need a little life insurance. Be right back. I want to talk for a minute about things that have fundamentally changed the way that we live. These are the disruptors. Things like smartphones, streaming services, whiter than white paint that actually cools down buildings. There are so many things out here that are disruptors, and another one I heard of recently is at a company called Ladder, who basically took the life insurance industry, flipped it upside down, and shook out the inefficiencies. Before Ladder, if you wanted to get life insurance, you had to drive across town, sit through a sales pitch, fill out a ton of paperwork, and then wait 6 to 8 weeks to find out that you've been approved. You'd probably also get a zillion phone calls from agents trying to bundle your life insurance with things like car insurance. But now with Ladder, you can get fast, affordable term life insurance without leaving your home. It's 100% digital when you apply for $3 million or less in coverage. No doctors, no needles, no paperwork. So if you're between the ages of 20 and 60, you need coverage, and you want to team up with a company that's redeeming life insurance, choose Ladder. And when I think about how I recently had a child, I think that it was so crazy to me that I never had life insurance before this. And now with Ladder, I don't have to worry about that at all. It is so easy to sign up. The process is quick, efficient, and it makes you feel good. Go to ladderlife.com/scaries today to see if you're instantly approved. That's LADDER life.com/scaries, ladderlife.com/scaries. Okay, Hilary, I did not prep you for these questions at all, but I've got some very Sunday questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What is your ideal Sunday outfit?
Oh my God. My Sleepless in Seattle oversized t-shirt
Hmm.
and biking shorts.
Okay.
Like long, like they like go to the knee.
I'm very jealous of this t-shirt. I may need to go on like Etsy and go find a Sleepless in Seattle t-shirt or a You've Got Mail t-shirt.
Yes, I honestly have like multiple Sleepless in Seattle shirts.
They recently have you ever seen the website for the You've Got Mail that they used
They
to
took
have?
it down.
I know they recently took it down. I was trying to show it to somebody and I was devastated that they got rid of it. It was the perfect time capsule back to the 90s.
I know. Well, I wonder if it still exists on what's that like archive.
Probably.
You have to find it. I couldn't. It was Why would you take that down? It doesn't make any sense.
It's a terrible. I think it was Warner Brothers, and like it's a terrible move from them to take that down. It was the perfect website for any movie.
Rude.
Our next question: do you drink coffee, and if so, how do you take your coffee?
Oh my God. Okay, here's my big thing. Is like I make coffee and then I don't really drink.
You just like sit there with it. You like the process of coffee more than actually drinking it.
People are going to cancel me after this. You're like, you're wasting coffee. I'm like, okay, so I suffer horribly from acid reflux. Like
Okay.
I shouldn't be drinking coffee, let alone wine. This is why I put ice on my wine. People think it's like a cute thing I do. And I'm like, no, I literally can't handle alcohol. No, okay, so I love coffee that's mostly French vanilla creamer.
Okay.
So like if we're making the coffee, we're putting a shit ton of creamer in, and then I'm probably, drinking a quarter of the cup.
That's okay.
And I'm constantly reheating it.
That's okay. What's your go-to hangover cure?
People they're not gonna believe this. They're gonna say, what? I honestly think fresh air does so much. Like it's the last thing you want to do is go outside.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just go on this sort of like whatever walk that isn't towards anything, there's something about the fresh air hitting me that really does help, on top of course, like chicken strips,
Yeah, I think that's a very good hangover cure. I think my ideal hangover situation is like me lying down on like a large green like lawn or something and just not having to move or do anything, but just existing with the fresh air. I think it truly does help.
Absolutely. And you have to have like a really weird outfit on when you're like, I don't know what I thought, and somehow I have moccasins with socks and a dress, but also a scarf. You're like, we're not sure.
Something that you have confidence in, but like you shouldn't have confidence in. You're feeling it that day. What's your go-to Sunday movie or television show that you might just toss on in the background or toss on at the end of the night just to feel a little better about things?
Oh my God. Okay. I mean, that's, it's always basically a 90s erotic thriller, like just anything of that genre. I mean, this month we're in our spooky season. So of course it's actually Practical Magic currently.
Okay.
That's going to make me feel really good. But, I'm looking for some sleepless, I just said so. No, Sleeping with the Enemy. Oh my God. What an amazing Julia Roberts film. Anything with Ashley Judd.
She seems to have a laundry list of some suspenseful movies on her resume.
Kiss the Girls, amazing. Double Jeopardy, seen it a million times. I'll watch it again. Oh, and the Pelican Brief. That's like my number one.
I recently read something about it was in Murder Book about how everyone loves the Pelican Brief. Your mom said it. I was like, why did I know this?
Where did I read that? How funny.
I was like, not many people talk about the Pelican Brief all that often, but that's exactly where.
I'm the only one talking about the Pelican Brief, quite frankly.
If I opened your refrigerator right now, what would I find inside of it?
Oh God, it's embarrassing. I literally have leftover nachos. Like that's not something you save, And I'm like, we don't know. I might want them.
Yeah, might toss them in the oven and see what happens.
Just have a soggy chip, and then like dog food. So
that's easy. That's a very New York fridge, leftovers and dog food.
Yeah.
What's on your bedside table?
Ooh, okay. So I've got Kat Cohen's book, A Modern Gal About Town, right? Is that the name of it? The book of poems that are so funny and they just kind of like they cheer me up. And some Snoopy books, honestly.
Oh.
I just love Schultz so much. And I think that there's maybe not a more adult comic out there than Peanuts. Like there is any thought or feeling or experience you've had, it is somewhere in the 50 years of Peanuts and Snoopy and Charlie Brown. And like it's a philosophical comic. It's so wonderful. And I've got an eye mask that I don't use, but it's like silky and I like to think I'll use it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I have a it's not a decanter, but it's essentially a decanter, but it's just one of those bedside table things for water. And I always think that it's a great idea and I'm going to use it because it's there for a purpose, but I always end up just bringing a giant glass of water and I'm like, this is just one of those things that makes me feel good even though I don't actually use it for anything.
Exactly. I mean, on top of just the 40 glasses of water that are obviously in my bedroom.
That's the motto. You have to have a bunch on your table that are just half drank, not even touched, like whatever. The final question, what does your ideal Sunday consist of?
A lot of TV, like a lot of TV, but like Law and Order, like just like TV I know and love. It's not gonna like affect me so much. Is that I'm just gonna live inside of it, and I typically spend Sundays because you want to have your New Yorker batch ready to go by like Monday night or like in the middle of Monday night. So on Sundays, I like to just sort of sit around and I go through all my sketchbooks and I try to flag anything like an old idea. I'm like, oh, draw that this week. Like, even if it's like years old, I'm like, you forget stuff. So yeah, I spend Sundays, I look through, which is basically my diary. So it's like a little traumatizing every time to be like, oh, damn it, there's that again.
Just bringing up unresolved issues on a Sunday afternoon.
Just constantly having an existential crisis. That and, some sort of, I like to tell myself I'm going to eat healthier on Sundays, and being sleepy, but like somehow productive.
I think that's the ideal Sunday. Well, Hilary, when does your book come out? Can you implore everyone to go buy it right now?
I beg of you, help me out here. The Murder Book comes out November 9th in a bookstore near you / on the interwebs, of course. And you can find out everything you need to know about Murder Book at www.hilarysmurderbook.com.
There we go.
And it's a website that looks like it's from 1992, so you should just go look at that just if you're just like trying to have fun too.
I mean, if we've proved anything throughout this process, it's that we very much enjoy a nice 90s designed website.
Absolutely. I think I still live in the 90s, which is like why my apartment looks like this.
Well, Hilary, thank you so much for joining us. I enjoyed Murder Book so much, and I will be checking more of your stuff out, whether it's in the New Yorker, on Instagram, or wherever else it is.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you liked what you heard today, make sure to subscribe, review, or tell a friend in need about this podcast. By subscribing, you guarantee that each and every episode gets delivered directly to your phone every Sunday morning. You can also follow along on Twitter at Sunday Scaries and Instagram, which is at Sunday.Scaries, or you can follow me both on Twitter and Instagram at Will DeFries. And remember, always trim the wicks on your scented candles. See you next Sunday.